So in Tibet, we used to say that we talk about the third, when it becomes cold, during the cold weather, the first phase of the cold weather, the the third phase of the cold weather is said to be the coldest, and therefore it's said that the head of the monks get cracked. And so this hat that this Jagat Guru gave to offered to me was is really good because it keeps my head warm. So His Eminence Gaden Rinpoche and then the former Rinpoche and all the upholders of the teaching of tradition of Geluk tradition, and as well as the many tulkus, the reincarnate lamas and geshes, and also teachers from other monastic universities and institutions are gathered here. And we have special guests from the non-Buddhist tradition, the Jagat Gurus. So what this shows is in India, before Buddha came to India, many of the philosophical traditions, religious traditions, such as Sankhya and the rest, and including those of the Jainism, Mimamsaka, and Nyayas, and so forth. So many of all these non-Buddhist traditions also teach and have doctrines on mind and emotion or psychology. So the Indian religious traditions, because they have the meditations for single-pointed concentration, shamatha or samadhi, and vipassana, the penetrative insight, and therefore these traditions also have many explanations, much explanation of the mind. And because the practitioners try to develop single-pointed concentration, they also need to know what are the factors for developing it, and also what are the factors for developing wisdom using our intelligence. And so the Indic tradition of psychology is very deep and vast. So the Buddha himself appeared at a time when these traditions were alive, and therefore the Buddha also went through the education on these. And then at the end, in the end, the Buddha went into the meditation under the Bodhi tree and became enlightened through the realization of selflessness. And so for over 3,000 years in India, there have been all these religious traditions where and there was a lot of debate and argument amongst these different traditions. While debating, they also respected each other, one another, and so this is India's tradition. Even today, all the religious traditions, the major religious traditions, are harmoniously living and in coexistence and with respect. And so this religious harmony that is in India is an example to the rest of the world. So I also, wherever I talk, I say that religious harmony is possible because look at India, where there is over 1 billion population, and we have religious harmony. So, therefore, this religious harmony that exists in India, I mean, is not something that happened or that occurred after Indian independence since 1947, but for over thousands of years, India has maintained this religious harmony. And therefore, if the rest of the world, I mean, also put effort, I mean, it is possible to have religious harmony. So since India, which has a population of 1.3 billion, is able to maintain religious harmony, and I always say that it is possible for the rest of the world to have religious harmony. I mean, in the world we have killing of human beings by human beings. So I would like to thank the Jagat Gurus and the Indian guests here for participating in this inauguration ceremony. So when I introduce myself to people, I usually tell people that I'm a messenger of the ancient Indian wisdom knowledge. So on this auspicious occasion, celebration, I'm very happy that you have come. So we are gathered here for the opening ceremony of the debate courtyard of Sera Mey Monastic College, and also Science Center. So you have done, the constructions have been really well done. And of course, there's been lots of expenses. So for your dedication and support of the sponsors and also the people who have worked on the construction, have done it with sincerity and with led by the abbot of Sera Mey. So I would like to thank everyone. So that there's a Tibetan sea looking magnificent from outside, but hollow inside. Magnificent, but hollow inside. So it's not, I mean, it's possible that this could happen. It's not impossible. So I think the Tibetan speaker of the parliament said that we should not cause any slack in the study of Buddhist philosophy in this monastery. So for over 1,000 years, the Nalanda tradition, study of the Nalanda tradition in terms of philosophy through logic and reason is something which is unique. So this has declined in India itself, but it's alive, still a living tradition amongst Tibetans. So on top of the traditional knowledge, we have also modern science, which we were not familiar with in the past. So in science, physics focuses on matter, and Of course, there are things that physics and science, modern science, have not still found, but we cannot say, I mean, they cannot say that those things that they have not yet found are non-existent as such. So there's a difference between something being non-existent and something, being found to be not exist. So in the Abhidharma Kosha Karika, where there is a chapter on the cosmology, but the cosmology, according to modern science, is something that I believe more in than the traditional account given in the Abhidharma texts. So we should not, I mean, also Kala Chakra. So I do not prefer the scriptural statements that we find in these scriptures, because the Buddha himself has told us that we need to analyze and examine the teaching, his own teaching, and therefore we need not say that, oh, we are following the Nalanda tradition, therefore we must believe in whatever is said in that tradition. So we have a tradition whereby we can actually have discussions with the scientists. And so other traditions are not able to do that kind of discussion. In India, for example, there were many different philosophical traditions which are mentioned in Bhaviveka's Tarkajwala, the Blaze of Reasoning. And on top of this, we have scientific findings which are new to us, and therefore we need to add on what we have traditionally. So I wish to say this to the public here and to the monastery here, as I have also told at Drepung Losaling at the inauguration of the Earth Science and Meditation Center. So we have a tradition where we study philosophy together with psychology and also physics. If we could actually go on par with modern science as well, together with science, then we, as somebody already mentioned, we would be able to become, as Buddhists, we would be able to become 21st century Buddhist, understanding our own tradition comprehensively, as well as understanding modern science, and therefore this is going to be something that is going to be praised by others. So in the monastic institutions of learning, we have the opportunity to use the human intelligence, human wisdom to